No cows were hurt in the making of this video.
Hi, today we're going to cover packaging and types of packaging that you can apply to your product. Branding packaging can add huge value to the same item. That cotton t-shirt in one retailer and the same cotton material t-shirt sold at another retailer, one may be $10, the other may be $200, and the only difference really is the branding, the packaging, the finish, the feel, the design. The materials, the cost, the labor are pretty much the same, not huge amounts of difference. High-end brands used to have very special materials that were different to the normal products, but now everyone pretty much uses similar factories, similar sources. There's not a huge difference in quality. What there is a big difference is in the finish, the design, and the packaging. So choosing the right type of packaging for your good, one, it's to protect the item during shipment, but two, it's to make the $3 item, the $5 item in the box from the factory feel like a $50, $60, $80, $100 item. And Apple, for example, when you open the iPhone, that box is designed to lift over a 3-second period to give you the optimal experience as you're opening the box. Then as you open it, what you see, the process you go through is to get you to familiar with the phone. Apple uses packaging very, very, very carefully with its product. I'm not saying that you have to find a factory that will make you a box which opens in exactly 3 seconds, but it just shows you that the whole experience of your product starts from the minute it arrives in the customer's hands. Their value perception of how good your item is. One, it's the images on your listing. Two, it's when the goods actually arrive, how it's packaged. If it's just in a cheap, shitty plastic bag, the customer's going to feel like they got ripped off a bit. It's not worth as much as if it was in a nice, say, paper carton with a textured finish, for example. So we're just going to run through some of the different types of packaging material available, just to give you some examples, and it's endless. I would strongly recommend you ask the factory that you're working with to show you examples and pictures of products, the products they're making and how other customers have packaged it, to give you more of a feel for how you can package that item too. There'll be some examples here, and I recommend you do a little Google search for your type of product, see what the competitors are doing, how they package it, and pick and choose what you think is the best value for the least cost in terms of creating a higher value perception for the customer, but keeping the manufacturing costs down. So here we have the standard, this is called a PP or poly bag, and when you manufacture goods in bulk in China, pretty much all of them will end up in one of these. If you haven't specified a particular packaging, if you're just ordering in bulk, you'll go into a poly bag, and you could in theory ship like this to Amazon or other e-commerce sites, but I would recommend taking a little bit of effort and just adding something to the packaging to make it nicer and seem more valuable to the customer. So this is the very, very basic. Your product would slip inside. 150, 20, 100 of these would then go into a carton, and that's it. So what you could do is to print on that type of plastic bag to create an effect, and here they've used a white backing and then clear front with a print on it. So this is a printed plastic bag. You could use a silver foil bag, which on its own can look really, really good. A lot of electronics are packed in a silver foil bag with a clear window, maybe printed at the top or a backing card at the top, and it looks great. Let me give you an example. So here you have a printed silver foil bag. If it's a very basic item, it could be a silicone ring or a iPhone cable, slips into the bag. I mean, this looks great. It's super cheap. You're talking cents per bag. Yet it looks quite premium to the customer. In terms of getting the packaging design done, once you have the shape of the actual packaging and the size, there's many freelance websites you can find good packaging designers to do you a design for $50, $100 maximum. Here you have a clear plastic bag with what's called a header card. Easy way to increase the perceived value of the product. Very simple. Again, costs cents to make per packaging. You could include an insert card or slide that into the back of the clear plastic bag. One, to give the bag some structure and shape. Two, to add your branding and maybe even a coupon code. A very simple way to pack the goods. I would recommend using an insert card inside the plastic bag or a foil bag for your first order. One, to save time. It's cheap, it's simple, it's quick. You're not sure that this is a really good item. You're just testing 200-300 pieces for your order. So it's just a simple way to brand the goods, make it look a little bit more premium than just having a plastic bag, and it's a quick and easy way to do that. And an insert card is going to cost you cents a time as well. Another way of packing is something called a blister pack. So here you have a plastic area that holds the goods, and it could be a much bigger plastic area, depends on the particular product, and a backing card that surrounds it, that's printed on the front and the back. Again, this would probably be if you're having a slightly larger order quantity, say 2,000 or 3,000 products, because the majority of the cost of any packaging is in the setup. So the cost difference between ordering 1,000 and 2,000 may be $100, but the first 1,000 may cost you $1,000, and each subsequent additional 1,000 may cost you only $100 more, because the majority of the cost is in the machine cost, is in the tooling setup for this particular shape to fit your product, is in the labor time, and they're having to stop production of other products and use your time on the machine. That's all factored into the cost. So you may have to order 2,000 or 3,000 insert cards, backing cards, plastic bags on your first order. Keep some at the factory, use some for your first order. And it's because the price difference between 3,000 and 300 may be cents. Like it may cost you $50 more to have 3,000 instead of 300. So it's always worth asking the factory for a larger quantity of packaging as well, because the incremental cost may be tiny and you can use it for follow-up orders. So if you know an item's selling well, maybe you can order 10,000 of the packaging each time and just keep some at the factory until you run low, and then reorder again, because the cost of ordering 10,000 sets of packaging might be the same as ordering 2,500. There may be a very, very small difference because of the setup costs. So here's another form of backing card. Solid cardboard card that's been printed on, plastic area that's stuck onto the top, and then sealed by machine, and your product goes inside there. The thing to watch out for with this type of packaging and material is the scratching. Here you've got the crinkling on the corners, so this hasn't been very well made at all. Sometimes there's bubbles or fades in the plastic material as well. It's just stuff to watch out for. Another form of packaging you can use is to simply use a cardboard carton. No printing at all, white on the outside, no coating on the inside. The product just goes inside. The box would be shaped to fit your particular item, and then just keeps it safe in transport. It gives it a little bit more of a premium feel because it is packed in a box instead of just a plastic bag. I would recommend keeping the product in the plastic bag and then into the box itself, just an added layer of protection against scratches. So this one is a double-sided white paper box, and so what you would get is something like this to give to your designer, and then they would apply the artwork if you wanted the box to be printed, for example. And you can see the huge difference it makes between a plain white box and a printed white box. Yet the cost of these two boxes, the difference may be 1 or 2 cents because of the printing, but the nice design, the nice style has added a huge amount of perceived value to the same box and product. A simple carton like this may cost you 10 to 20 or 30 cents depending on the size of your item, how many you've ordered, the thickness of the paper. Something like 400 grams per square meters is usually okay, plus or minus a little, so that's somewhere to start off. You can ask for samples from the factory so you can see the paper quality, and I would recommend doing that. But definitely add a print. And of all the types of packaging available, I would say that the one that adds the most value in terms of look for a customer for most products is a simple white paper carton that's printed like this, because you're paying 30 cents for a printed box, yet it's taking a product that looks like it's worth $5 up to look like it's worth $20 just because it's in a printed, nice, clean box. And use a nice quality of paper and make sure the inside of the box is not grey but white also, because sometimes the factories use a recycled paper which is white on the outside, grey on the inside. So when the customer opens the box, it's grey. It's not as nice as if it was double layered in white. And there's not a huge cost difference at all between those. Another option is to have a hard paper gift box. So this is cardboard wrapped in paper. Here it's foil stamped with silver. This can be printed on instead as well. There's a huge cost difference between a simple paper carton, which is this style, and this hard rigid box. These can be machine made. These boxes can be machine made, machine folded, machine glued. The machine just spits out 10,000 in an hour, simple. Whereas these have to be, usually they're hand wrapped. So the paper's glue's applied to the paper. The worker will fold over the edges of the paper and glue it all in together. So it's a much more manual process, slower, therefore more expensive, because one, the factory have to cover the labor costs, but two, because it's manually made, maybe 10 or 20% are defective, and so they have to account for that cost as well. Whereas the machine one is much more accurate, very small percentage of defects. What you need to watch out for with all packaging and print in China is if you say blue, it can be anywhere between light blue and very dark blue. Even if you've given them an actual color to follow, most printing factories and factories have a very wide tolerance for the color. They're not very good at matching colors. The industry standard is to use something called Pantone. So you would buy a Pantone book, and in that Pantone book it has numbers for different types of shades of blue. You would specify the Pantone color to go with the particular product that you packaging and the print. And the factory also have the same Pantone book, and they're supposed to match that in theory. The reality is there may be quite a wide variation between prints. So that's why it might be a good idea to print 10,000 at a time. Make sure that they are when you're getting the print to do they can do an example print for you, and you can sign that off as the color that they're supposed to match to as well. So they'll give you a sheet to sign off on. Here we have another form of blister, PVC box backing, and so this can be this plastic material can be PET, can be PP, can be PVC. There's different prices and different effects that you can do on those different materials. Here they've printed onto the clear box as well. They've got a cardboard bottom. Really nice effect for certain products to combine the two this way. This is a hard plastic box that they've used here instead. Very expensive. Why? Because you have to make the tooling to fit the exact product, which can range from several $1,000s to tens of $1,000s depending on the specifications. I mean, they've even got the logo etched into the top as well. So this is a very expensive packaging. And then even though they've paid the $10,000, $20,000 up front to custom make this packaging for this particular item, each one's going to cost them a couple of bucks because it's thick plastic material. They've got several layers to this packaging. There's a lot of labor involved, printing involved, stages involved. There's some backing material I can see here to hold the product in place. There's cardboard to hold the product in place. And there's printing around the bottom part of the plastic. This is expensive. So you have, on one hand, you have this box, which is 30 cents, printed, looks nice. And then another, you can have a box like this, which could end up costing you $2, $3 or more, depending on the factory, the quality, the finish, as well as this one having an upfront cost of maybe a couple $100s to set up the machine, and this type of box having an upfront cost of $20,000 to set up the machine. Until you're doing very big volumes like Jabra, I would recommend sticking to simple packaging that looks nice. So simple printed carton. This is another type of paper carton, printed on with the image. Not expensive at all to make this kind of a box. You're talking 20 to 50 cents depending on the size and the exact finishes you use. And it's simply a multicolored, looks like a 4-color print that they've done. And you can choose to have a matte finish on the box, a glossy finish on the box. I would recommend matte. Gloss tends to cheapen the effect of the product and get scratched, whereas a matte finish gives it a premium look and hand feel as well. Inside the box itself, you can hold the product. The product could be packed in a plastic bag loosely. Here they've have a foam insert that's been cut specifically to the shape of the product. Again, there's a tooling and a setup cost involved with that. Individually, these foam might be a few cents a time, but you may have to order 2,000 to 5,000 because it's a custom size made just for your particular product. So there's a foam insert. Another type is a blister insert. So this would sit inside and the product would hold inside here, and then that would go inside the gift box. Again, you would have to order 3,000 to 5,000 units of this, most likely at a price somewhere between 15 to 30 cents, depending on the size. And there'll be a setup cost because it's custom to your particular product. And I think the foam looks much more premium than the plastic. The plastic now you can have in multiple colors. There's effects you can do to the finish of the plastic. You can have a textured layer on the top. So really the factory can do almost anything you want it to. Keep it simple to start with, and then investigate what you can do to improve the quality of the packaging as you go. Here you have a simple hand wrapped paper gift box with a drawer style. Relatively expensive because this material, this box most likely would be hand wrapped versus the machine made plastic carton, paper carton. But looks great, really good finish, and really depends on your particular product as to what you think would match it. If you're selling a cheap utility item, let's say a hammer, maybe simply using a solid card, backing card, and have the product attached to it with a plastic tie is suitable. If you're selling something more premium for $60, $70, maybe the customer is expecting it to arrive in nice packaging, and that's something you need to consider. Maybe it's worth investing the $2 or $3 per pack for your item. So here you have a paper tube, really nice as well. Usually pretty expensive to do because it's hard to manufacture, hard to manage the quality. If you're hand wrapping the paper around, paper comes as a rectangle sheet, and so as you're wrapping it around the edges here, you can have a lot of defects as you try to get the paper inside and around, which makes it slow to manufacture. There's a high level of defects. You've got to really watch the quality of this type of packaging. You can have a tin. So you have a tin with a plastic lid. In this case, again, because it's a custom size, custom type of packaging, there's a large upfront fee for the tooling. Here you've got a paper hand wrapped gift box with a gold foil finish and a hot stamped gold logo onto the top as well. You can see here though that it's not 100% smooth if it's been wrapped around the edge of the box. And so this bottom one looks better, this one looks a bit bumpy, and really they have to, when they're wrapping it around, they have to get that edge exact, so it's a couple of millimeters uniform all the way around. These are handmade, so that makes it slow, that makes it expensive. That means there's a lot more defects. When you're checking the quality before shipping out the goods, you need to watch out. This kind of box is difficult, very difficult to get right and get well, which is why it's much more expensive than a typical paper carton. There's packaging factories can do all kinds of effects. So here you have a wooden box with leather around it as well. Tin style box, which can be printed on too. A laser etched wooden box to hold the goods. very high-end premium wooden box here. So as you can see, right from the simple plastic bag all the way through, there's a wide variety of finishes and effects that can be done, materials that can be used. My recommendation would be to keep it simple to start with. Use just an insert card in a plastic bag or a printed paper carton with the product inside a plastic bag, inside the paper carton with maybe an insert card. And that's probably the best and simplest way to get started. And it probably has the most bang for your buck. So whereas a wooden box may cost you $5 to $10, or a paper tube may cost you $3 to $5, this type of box should end up costing you less than 50 cents. Yet it still makes the $5 or $10 product feel much more premium, increases the perceived value of the product for your customer, and will make your listing look much more professional and better if you can show the box and the product together. It just increases the authority and the trust of your particular product and will make it stand out versus other similar products. This video will self-destruct in 5 seconds.